Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's card I've got a very sweet stamp set from Mama Elephant called Beach Chickies. And the name kind of cracks me up. So I used every image on this stamp set, and I also used most of this die set from MFT from a while ago. I can't remember if it's called the Beach Scene or something like that. And a lot of ink. So I have Sahara Sand, Soft Suede, Garden Green, Stampin' Up inks. I thought we'd use some Stampin' Up inks for blending today. Some Bermuda Bay, Coastal Cabana and Balmy Blue. Some Pineapple Punch, Blushing Bride and Petal Pink and another pink, I can't remember. I can't read that. Powder Pink, that's the one. And I also have a Stampin' Up cloud stencil, and this is how I'm storing my little ink sponges that I would use with a Tim Holtz applicator. I'm trying it out to see whether I want to do that with my distress inks as well, because I already have them done. So some of these inks I don't have a little sponge door for. I just ran out, so I will use brushes for that as well. So I'm using the stencil and some watercolor paper, and I just thought I would very gently or very lightly ink on some of the, I think it's the Balmy Blue that I used for the clouds in the background, just so that there's a bit of a cloudy blue sky scene. I could have used my MFT it's like an edge, cloud edge die stencil, but I went with this one. I thought it would look quite cute. So, and it's just something in the background, and then I'm just going to clean this off, and then I will go back without re-inking the blender brush, and I will just go over the top of everything. It just kind of smooths things out and doesn't make the lines of the clouds so harsh. And of course I have to spritz everything, so so I spritzed it, and although it's very subtle, it is there, so it does react a bit. Not like distressing, that's a whole other beast, but and then this MFT die, you can actually use this piece and use it both ways, so you can have two styles of, or sizes I guess, of either your sand or your what would be your water. So I decided to go with this piece, using this piece as the water edge, because I needed more sand, if that makes sense. It'll make more sense I suppose as we go, but so I used the I had some of these foam brushes, foam tools, applicators things, I don't know what they're called, and I seem to get a much more intense color when I use these as opposed to using the like blender brushes or the makeup brushes. So I don't know, it depends on the project as to which one I prefer, you know, because it depends what kind of color you want and whether you want that more intense bright color. But yeah, and then I spritzed this, and then it was too sort of stark, so I went back over without re-inking the foams and sort of muted that down a little bit. You'll see in a second I'll actually respray it, because I didn't like how subtle it was. It was too subtle, like I needed more texture. So, and because I'm using watercolor cardstock, I can do that, I can go back on it. So for these I've got the Sahara Sand, and it's barely there. I mean, even when I was doing this, it was struggling to see this color come onto the paper, but I gotta say, maybe my ink pad might be dry, so that's probably not helping things. But once I get the I can't remember the name of the other color, but the sort of slightly darker tone, it seems to bring it all together, and it seems to work out really quite nicely. And then you can see it better. It's one of those funny colors that's really pale, but once you get another color next to it, you can see it much nicer. And then again I spritzed it just to give it some texture, because that's going to be the sand, and this is where I re-spritzed this one because I quite like the way the sand sort of turned out, and it's all about texture in my world. So, and then with the Pineapple Punch, This is there's a couple of old colours here that are no longer available. They were like in colours from a few years ago. So use what you have. If you have another bright yellow, use a bright yellow. You might not want yellow for your sun. You might want like two-tone, like a yellow and an orange or something like that. But I just decided that it was there and I wanted to use it, and I just used one colour for that, for a change. Normally I blend a couple of colours together, but the sun I just used as a yellow. I think I was thinking that like those really, really bright sunny, you know, where there's no cloud in the sky and the sun is almost white, that sort of brightness of sun is what I was thinking. You know, those sort of summer days on a beach, that kind of thing. So it didn't quite turn out like that, but it was good in my head. And then I used the 2 shades of pink. They're very similar in my opinion, but they are different. So I used those 2 for the shells. And then for the palm trees, there are these extra like leaves that you can add on for more texture, but I just decided to use one, the main piece. And what I did was I started in the middle of it and then sort of brought the colour out so that it had a bit of that sort of not only shading, but it kind of gives it that illusion that there's what's the word, like roundness to the leaf. Again, in my head, it might not look like it on camera, but it gives it nice texture and nice shading, if nothing else. So, and again, I went back over after spritzing and just added some more green to it, because I thought sometimes leaves do have that like mottled look, don't they? And then going back to soft suede is the other colour, sorry, the other brown. And so I used soft suede again on the trunks and the coconuts, and at this point I'd lost a coconut, so, you know, shocking. I do find it and I will put it together in a minute, but yeah, at this point I was like, I don't know where this thing is. So I think it just got stuck to something else in one of the other images in the little pot that I had all of them in. So, and these little ones are very like hard, they're quite difficult to actually colour, so I'm basically pouncing the ink onto them just to get the colour onto them. And it's just a little bit of colour. It's enough that it looks brown, but it's not like super intense brown. And like I said in a couple of videos, this whole week has been about, you know, inking and finding that softness and all that. But this is a bit brighter. This is much more bright than the other ones. So I've just got a card base here. This is actually the same Pineapple Punch colour. And this is how easy it is to get these pieces from that MFT die set. This is how easy it is. So you have your bottom layer, whichever way round you've chosen. You pop that down. And then you take the next piece and it almost like fits in like a puzzle piece. I mean, literally just slots in and that's it. And suddenly you have this ocean and seaside or sandy beach thing going on, and it's just very clever. And like I say, you can use it the other way around as well. I cut 2 palm trees. I decided only to use one, otherwise it becomes too crowded. You will see there are a lot of images on this set, and of course I used all of them. So I'm just trying to find some placement of where I might want to put these guys. I also, with things like the carts, like the sand castles, and there's certain things that I stamp more than one of, because I think they're sort of like accessories to the whole scene, so you could have more than one. I actually had 3 umbrellas. I don't know what I was thinking there, but 3 umbrellas. Don't know where I was going to put them. And yeah, so I always stamp extra if I feel like they're the sort of image that I might need more than one of. Like, I don't know, it could be flowers, or in this case it could be shells, could be there's a tiny little crab that actually I stamped 3 times, and I always stamp 3 of them. 3's my number, so 3 is the number that I use if I want to stamp more than one image of something. It'll usually be 3 of them, and that's usually enough. That's usually enough extras by the time you get all the extras on, if that makes sense. So just got my palm tree and my lighthouse, which is in the stamp set. And here's where I just sort of decided, actually these little guys can be on the under the tree with their umbrella building their sandcastle. And then I've got one of the little Chickies sunbathing. He's actually going to have a cocktail, or her, I guess. She's going to have a little cocktail in a minute, like you do on a beach. Oh, to be on a beach. It's weird because I'm not a lover of the heat, but I do love ocean anything, so I can't help myself. So yeah, so just got here, and then the little guy in the he's just on the water's edge in his flamingo. Flamingo, what are those things called again? They're like little, I want to say like armbands, but they're not armbands. But those little float things. And then putting the umbrella and the sand, I suppose sand castle, the start of it, with the two little ones that are playing with it and digging in the sand. And then I've got this one who's just munching on a big old watermelon. And then the Little Mermaid one just cracks me up. I just think it's so cute. So I'll have her in the water. And then this little dude flying, I couldn't help myself, I had to use him as well. And all of these images, I was going to watercolor. I thought this was Bristol board, and it's a Daler-Rowney Bristol board, and I thought it was like the Bristol Smooth board. It's not. It's basically like, I've forgotten, it's basically like a watercolor paper, but you can't brush on your zigs or your watercolor brushes, like your watercolor markers, and then move the color. It just sits there. So I had some issues to start with. So in the end, I actually scribbled on the markers onto my gloss media mat, and then picked up with a water brush on, and then added the color that way. So it took me a little while to actually get these guys colored in, and then I cut them out with my scan and cut, and I was really impressed with how it cut out, especially the one with the guy with the kite. Couldn't believe how much it cut that out and how well it cut it out, but it did. So that was good. Yeah, I used, what colors did I use? I used the 2017 to 19 and 18 to 20 Stampin' Up! Markers, the in color markers, and then for all the colors, and then except the, did I use any? In fact, I don't think I used any from, I may have used the odd Tim Holtz one. I have very few of all of these sort of markers, so I have to mix and match sometimes, but yeah, it worked out all right in the end. And then for the sentiment, I was contemplating whether to put this on the inside instead, and I just decided that the sentiment works quite well in this corner, without it looking like it's out of place, although it still looks out of place to me. But anyway, and then I used Melon Mambo Stampin' Up! Ink. The whole idea with this was to use my old inks, so to use my Stampin' Up! Inks to ink with, to stamp with, to do all that sort of stuff with. So that was the idea behind that part. And then that's it. The only other thing I thought I should have added in the background was a couple of birds, you know, like they look like little M's when we used to draw them as kids. I could have chucked a couple of those in the background, and that would have sort of finished off that background, but there it is. So using some watercolor markers or water-based markers, and I zoom in a bit much here, what was I thinking, and some Stampin' Up! Ink to ink all the pieces, you know, the sort of standalone die pieces, to get some color and that on the background pieces. So I hope you try dragging out, like if you don't have distress inks or don't have enough colors, then drag out some of your other dye inks and just see what happens. And if you use a watercolor or something that will absorb moisture, that will help with all the texture and that. So until next time, guys, bye.